Hello everybody out there in the land of YouTube. This is how we're going to start random video number 8. We're going to do a plug for Cavender's salt-free all-purpose Greek seasoning. This stuff is great. I haven't found anything yet I can't put this on. It doesn't taste excellent afterwards. We got the sodium-free version of this because it had a lot of salt in the non-salt free version. So look for the blue can if you want sodium free. I think the other one was either white or black, I don't remember, but it says on the back that it's distinctive in the foods of today as those prepared. It's good on steaks, chops, roasts, chicken, fish, turkey, salads, wild game, seafood, and I agree with all that. It is excellent. Cottage cheese, this is the bomb on it. So I don't think I tried this on ice cream. Here recently I've had to tear my Troy-Bilt tiller back apart that I rebuilt about 3 years ago with the help of my father-in-law. We got this thing, my dad gave it to me. It was basically a box of parts. The lower transmission was tore apart in pieces. The engine was together, but it had not been rebuilt. All the tying, assembly, and everything was tore apart out of the back half of the transmission. The arms were off of it. Basically everything was dismantled down into pieces except for the engine. My dad is a machinist. He had to recut a axle for it, and we ordered all new seals, all new bearings, all new oil seals. The engine was 100% rebuilt and reworked. We ground the valves down. Didn't put any new pistons or anything like that in there. We put a new set of rings. We overbored it and put a new set of 10 over rings in it, and it ran great. But what always plagued this engine was the gas tank. When this engine set, it had some varnish in it, and we cleaned it out 3 years ago. Well, since then, the gas, when I run it, has loosened up more varnish. Well, I once again had to take the gas tank back off the top of the engine. It mounts in these little saddles right here, here and here, and up here's the bands that go around the tank and attach it to the saddles. I took the gas tank off, dumped all the old nasty gas out, took this fuel filter off. I had just put on it in May, drained it, let it run back. This is my crap can. I let collect kerosene in there and gas and all kinds of nasty stuff for bonfire burnings and stuff. You just stand back a little farther when you chuck the match at it. Anyway, tore the carburetor off one more time, tore it down to pieces. All the seats were taken out, the needles, everything was taken out. The float was checked for leakage. Maybe some fuel had got into the float because it was wanting to run the float bowl over when it was sitting idle, and it'd run gas right out through the breather. This was saturated with fuel. So I took it apart yet again, cleaned it, because we had a problem with this before passing oil out of that. And what that was this little reed inside this breather right here. There's a cartridge that sits in there about that big. It's got a reed inside that regulates the oil pressure in the valves. And that was bad. So that's been replaced. The oil problem has been taken care of. But I've tore the carburetor apart again. The gas tank is cleaned, and I found an awesome way to clean gas tanks, and I did it on this Cub 122 when I got it off of Grandpa about 5, 6, 7 years ago, whatever it was, is to clean the tank of all gasoline. And this one on the Cub, I had to soak it in a product called Seafoam because the varnish was so nasty. And what I ended up doing was going and getting a small carton of BBs. The goldish color, I think they're brass or whatever they're made out of. Get those because the other ones will rust. The brass ones, or whatever their equivalents are, won't rust. Put you about maybe a cup of kerosene. In that case I used Seafoam on that, but I used kerosene on this. Into that gas tank, pour all your BBs in there and do the shake. I cleaned the tank on this 3 times, and the first time it looked like chocolate milk. I kid you not. The second time, about half the consistency of chocolate milk, and by the third time it was starting to get clear. I took the BBs out, cleaned them, put them on a screen over top of an old drain pan, and ran straight kerosene through it, shook it, cleaned the screen out the bottom, and this time it was completely clean. So I've got the carburetor tore down. I haven't got it put back together yet, but this was one mean machine when it ran. 1974 Troy-Bilt horse. And this was when Troy-Bilt was still owned by Gardenway, not that MTD crap of today. And it's been a good tiller. Like I said, she was in pieces when we got her, so we had to part her back together. Good thing you have a service manual. because you're going to need it if you ever have one of these that you get some parts. I know we did. What's under all the rags, you might ask, the towels and stuff? Well, it's still all them records that come from Grandpa's. I haven't had a chance to sort through them yet. It's been a busy week around here. Still got some of them sitting up here too. Well, been slowly going through some of them and playing a few here and there. Some good songs on some of this stuff. Gives me a chance to exercise my basic turntable. They could have put a lighter cartridge in this thing. It's pretty rough on records. It doesn't really hurt 78s, but the LPs and 45s, it's pretty harsh on them. And there's another look at that record cabinet. Like I said, this thing's probably early 70s. All those records. Wow, wow, wow. Guys, after 2 years of this vehicle not having any carpet in it, I put the carpet back in it Friday. Now you might ask, why did I have the carpet out? You know, what strange reason do you take carpet out of a vehicle for? Well, back probably 10 years ago, I don't know if it's been quite that long, it's probably been about 10 years ago, the heater core broke, ruptured in this vehicle. And I had to strip all the carpet out, let it dry, take the seats out, take the console out, take all the stuff out from behind the seat, the jack, cover, all that stuff had to come out. And they had to lay in the garage and dry for almost a month. And if you've ever experienced sticky antifreeze on anything, just imagine what this was like on a scale, that the whole coolant system of this vehicle just basically drained right into the floorboard on the passenger side. So I got everything fixed up, put it back in, and here about 2 years ago I noticed there was, again, water in the floorboard, and I kind of contribute it maybe to the windshield seal finally going, because it's getting pretty hard and it's kind of pulled away from the corners, but it's not leaking. It's not the windshield that caused the problem. What did cause the problem, for water getting in, that is, up in here behind the air conditioner, condenser, compressor, and all that stuff under the hood, there's a box that sits against the firewall. All of that sealant along the top of that box down the sides on the other side had completely just dried up like dust and blew away. So I took it to a repair shop. Actually, the guy does windshields, and he had it apart for a water test and found that the water just basically ran right from here right into the floorboard. He sealed that up. We haven't had a bit of problem with water. But before that was corrected, we also had, once again, 2 years ago, antifreeze in the floorboard on this vehicle. So I had to once again pull the interior, pull the carpet, the floor mats, the console, all the little trim pieces, everything had to come out of here. And I'm happy to say it's been almost 2 years this fall. It's passed its water test, it's passed its antifreeze test. I wasn't going to put it back in until I was 100% satisfied. Granted, this vehicle's 20 years old this year, and she has, how many miles on her now? 192,352. But I kept the carpet rolled up in trash bags in the bed of the truck for the last 2 years. I'm glad the mice didn't get into it. We took all the seats back out, the console, like I said, everything had to come back out. Me and my wife rolled it back out, put all the trim back on, put the seats back in. I hope I never have to take this out again. I'd rather sell the vehicle than have to take this out again. And this is how we do a lazy day here in Ohio. Ain't that right, Vinny? Does that go? Go away. What about you, Sam? What do you have to say about that? Yeah. Leave me alone, huh? Can't say I don't agree. I'd be right there with you, boys, but there's plenty of stuff to be done today, even though it is Sunday. I go back to napping. I'll catch up with you guys in a little bit. And here is the carburetor and the tank off of that Troy-Bilt. Like I said, I had to clean that tank about 3 to 4 times before it finally gave up clear fuel. The third, I think it was the 4th time I finally cleaned it to give up clean fuel. But this is the screen that's in the bottom of this tank. It's inserted right there and screwed into the fuel shutoff. And a lot of these people will they'll get plugs, so they'll reach down in a pair of pliers and pull that out of there, or they'll take it out. You can grab it with pliers and pull it out of there. I prefer to leave them in there. It is a fine mesh screen. It does do a good job. This particular one was bent over flat, probably from somebody poking around down in there. I'm surprised it drew fuel at all, but it still worked. Took some Fast Orange and a toothbrush, a little bit of emery cloth, polished that float back up. If you ever question about the float and the thing's flooding itself, take this float back out. Now these are the real deal. These are metal, not like the plastic crap today. And shake it up next to your ear. If you hear water inside of this, if you hear fuel inside of this, like a jostling of liquid, you've got a hole somewhere in your solder joints around the edge, or in this case, up in the body part of the float. Now this one didn't have issues with fuel getting inside of it, but just thought I'd point that out in case anybody ever does have that problem. Took it all apart, pulled the seats out. Another place to clean. I doubt the camera will pick it up. There's a tiny little pinhole right there at the tip of my thumb. You want to make sure that's cleaned out along with the bottom one. If not, it'll run like crap when you put it back together. And I found that a bread bag tie works pretty good for that, to poke at and clean it out. And sometimes at the fairs or farm shows or something, you can find big boxes of these dental tools people just kind of sell for 50 cents or so. Those are pretty handy for cleaning carbs and stuff too. And here is the end result. What come out of that. Isn't that nasty? Kerosene and old fuel that come out of this tank right here is all that's in that. Pretty nasty, huh? We'll wrap up this random video number 8 with these 4 items right here and wood glue. I can't find my wood glue. But this is a project for an upcoming random video. We have my General Electric portable hi-fi, wax paper, a pair of scissors, a very, very, very dirty 45, Black is Back by Los Bravos. Very dirty. Actually, I said that wrong. It's Black is Black. AC/DC had Back in Black. I bet they'd be offended by that one. And along with this, wood glue. It's a project I've been wanting to try for a while. And I'll give you a before and after when it's time. Boy, oh boy, that Cavender's has done it yet again. That's some good eating right there. Spaghetti with a little butter and some Cavender's. Boy. So, thank you guys for watching. And as usual, there will be more to come later.